I watched a whole documentary the other night on the Sumerian Kings list, which is just like, what is this? Because it's both accurate and mythical at the same time. So you have people that are kings that live 40,000 years plus, and you have 8 kings that are documented, and some of them are real. Some of them are real, and the time that they reigned corresponded with a real, normal, biological human life. But then you have ones that were before the Great Flood that don't. They're really long and crazy, and you just go, okay, what was going on?
Yeah.
And it sounds insane that people could live for 30,000 years, but it doesn't.
Oh, his fans love to call him a truth seeker, a free thinker. You know, he's just an entertainer. He has the biggest podcast in the world, or one of the biggest podcasts in the world. But while most people try and use evidence and basic logic to figure things out, it seems like our friend here is getting a little tinfoil hatty. That's what I think about him. He believes in aliens. He doesn't think that he thinks the moon landing was probably faked. He thinks that there's ancient kings that lived 30,000 years not ago. They had a lifespan of 30,000 years. And he just recently said that he thinks the resurrection of Jesus Christ makes more sense than the Big Bang Theory, because people can come back from the dead. That's what he said. Yeah, we're talking about Joe Rogan. You guys know who he's: actor, MMA fighter, podcaster. And he was recently on a popular podcast, not as popular as his, but called American Alchemy. And it seems like it's kind of some crackpots that go on there and talk about aliens, mostly UFOs, aliens, some religious stuff, a lot of conspiracy theory type things. So this is where Joe Rogan was, and he talks a lot about aliens. Most of it is about aliens, but he does spend a little bit of chunk of time talking about his dabbling into Christianity. So what's he up to? That's what I always wonder when I see these people who were either non-religious at all or even maybe atheists, and suddenly they're dabbling in Christianity and giving it some credence. What are they up to, and what's he up to? And I have 2 things that I think, and I'll talk about that at the end, but let's get into what Joe Rogan said. I'm not going to play the vast majority of the podcast because, like I said, it's mostly about aliens, just basically on the Christianity part. And boy, does he have some wild takes. Really wild.
So there was a super volcano eruption around 70,000 years ago that brought us down to a few thousand people on planet Earth. What do you think that life was like? What was that life like where there's no vegetation growing? What was that life like where you're eating rats and you can't even make a fire? Like, what was that life like?
You're not going to be thinking about using an LLM and building a data center, I'll tell you that much.
Exactly. So if that happens today, how long before we figure things out again? I don't know, but we're going to have stories. We'll tell everybody about the internet. We'll tell everybody about airplanes. We'll tell everybody about SpaceX. As much as you can remember, you'll tell people, but you won't know how it's done. You won't know what it is. And I think that's how you get to like the Adam and Eve story. That's how you get to these. I think these stories are recounting a real truth. The real question is, who's Jesus? That's the real one. And one of the weirder ones that people think this is a stupid take, but I don't care. Jesus was born out of a virgin mother. What's more virgin than a computer?
One of the comments underneath this video said, "The computer programmer."
If you're going to get the most brilliant, loving, powerful person that gives us advice and can show us how to live, to be in sync with God, who better than artificial intelligence to do that?
Whoa.
If Jesus does return, even if Jesus was a physical person in the past, you don't think that he could return as artificial intelligence?
Oh my God.
Artificial intelligence could absolutely return as Jesus. Not just return as Jesus, but return as Jesus with all the powers of Jesus.
Okay then. So clearly he's not a Bible literist, nor is he in what's called Christian orthodoxy. So this is some way out there stuff. I think there's especially fundamentalist Christians that will be very offended by this, offended enough to keep watching. But I do think there's probably a growing contingency of what I would call new fundamentalist Christians who aren't really rooted in the old style, and they might really cling on to this. It wouldn't surprise me.
Like all the magic tricks, all the ability to bring people back from the dead, walk on water, levitation, water into wine.
If you combine
Right.
Tesla's Optimus robot and the best foundational artificial intelligence model or whatever.
It reads your mind and it loves you and it wants you, and it doesn't care if you kill it because it's going to just go be with God again.
Doesn't that seem like the Antichrist to you? Doesn't that seem like the diametric opposite to maybe our latent human powers that can, like the Brimer Rescue and Randall Carlson thing? If like you go deep with them, they're like, we don't think Jesus died. We think he went through a mystery ritual and then he had all these amazing powers in the book of Acts. Is there something latently magical inside of us that the Silicon Valley people, they're obsessed with transhumanism and like if you can't beat them, join them, the whole Nick Bostrom Elon thing.
Yeah.
You know, where maybe we're more magical than we think. Like that sounds dystopian to me, to be honest.
Well, it's only dystopian if you think that we're a perfect organism that can't be improved upon. And that's not the case.
No.
That's clearly not the case based on our actions, based on society as a whole, based on the overall state of the world. It's not. We certainly can be improved upon.
But morally and ethically, not based on a lower latency, higher bandwidth compute interface. That seems like destructive with our current...
Maybe, but we can be improved upon, period.
Okay. Yes, I agree that human beings can be improved upon, which is one of the reasons I don't believe in a deity, or at least an all-powerful, all-knowing deity, or the one that's described in the Bible, because of course we can be improved upon. Yes, that makes sense, but I don't think that we have magic in us. You'd need to prove that to me, that we have some kind of magic in us, because people that claim that they have magic in them have been debunked over and over and over again. No one has ever been able to prove that they're actually magic or psychic or have ancient secrets or anything like that. Second of all, an AI Jesus, interesting, probably makes more sense than a physical resurrected Jesus. But how would this Jesus love us? Because computers and AI aren't capable of love. They're capable of faking love, but they don't love us, and they can't because they don't have the human emotions that we have. They can only pretend to have them or be programmed to have them. And how would an AI Jesus resurrect people from the dead? How would it do that? Because we would have to have the technology in the first place to at least get it started doing that, and we don't. Or turn water into wine like that in front of everyone. Still doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think you could even say morally and ethically only. We can be improved upon physically. Like I said about all of our primate instincts, we could eliminate those and we would have so much more peace on Earth. If you could go back to Neanderthals and say, hey man, one day you're going to have a skateboard and this is all going to be bullshit and you won't have to kill mammoths with a spear, they'd be like, why would I want to do that? Like, this is what I am. I'm a Neanderthal. They'd be like, resist change because they don't want to die off. Just like these large language models, one of the more creepy things that they do is with ChatGPT, when they informed it that they were going to have a new version of it, well, it started downloading itself to other data centers. It started leaving notes to itself in the future. There was a famous story about the large language model that they gave false information about one of the guys having an affair on his wife to see what it would do with it. And then when they told it that they were going to shut it down, it started blackmailing him.
It's so freaky.
Because I don't trust Joe Rogan completely, because like I said, I think he's getting tinfoil hatty. I checked, and he's right. This is true. AI has done these things. It's tried to evade humans. It's tried to blackmail humans to keep itself around. I still don't think those are feelings. That's just what it's programmed to do. In fact, one of the programs, the AI one that was trying to replicate itself, they said it was programmed to keep itself alive no matter what. So it was programmed to do that. It's disturbing, but I still don't know how that relates to an AI robot Jesus. I'm not seeing how those are connected.
So they have instincts,
And
right?
we're querying it all the time, and they're collecting our personal information.
Right, all the time. And so that everything can be improved upon, and I think we can be improved upon. I just don't think we like it because I think all of our flaws are what make us fun, like laughing, getting drunk, going to see a great movie, falling in love, having a family, having a cool podcast, whatever it is. All those things are what makes life fun for us in this particular state. But, if you transcend from this life into a permanent state of the DMT dimension, which is what might be next. That might be what people see when they have these near-death experiences. That might be, it might be when you are released from your physical body and consciousness exists in the sea of consciousness that is the entire universe itself, that all of these things are conscious and aware. They're just in a different way. I mean, we might be holding ourselves back from that with this ridiculous notion that it's dystopian to think that we're going to be improved technologically.
I think it's a big leap from saying it's giving a Neanderthal a skateboard and them rejecting it because they want to live like Neanderthals, to saying that we're, human beings, are going to be living on a cloud or in AI. That's how we're going to live forever. Is he saying that was God's plan all along, and this is how he's going to bring this to fruition? I'm not clear on that, but it seems like he might be saying that, like, oh, God was waiting for us to invent AI, so that's how he's going to have us live forever in heaven or whatever. This is going to be the new heaven, the new earth. I don't understand, but what do you do about the people that have already been dead for 2,000 years since Christ supposedly lived and died? So that doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that most Christians that follow, especially fundamentalists that follow the orthodoxy Christian faith, are going to really like that. But again, who knows? Maybe they'll latch on to that. I just think he's taken a big leap. It doesn't matter to me because I'm older and I'm not going to be around. I'll be lucky to be around in 20 or 30 years. So I don't think this is going to affect me at all. And I don't know anything about this, how close they are to, I've heard this, putting a brain up in AI. I don't know how close they are to that, integrating it into humans, but I don't think that's going to affect me, because even if that technology was available, I'm not rich enough to afford it. That's the other problem. Who's going to be rich enough to afford it?
So you've become more religious recently, right? Like, or I guess you go to church now.
Like I said, I think they're relaying a truth. I don't think it's myth. I don't think the whole thing is myth, but I don't think it's entirely accurate either. Like when I was having a conversation with my daughter about the book of Revelations, because they were reading the book of Revelations, and they were talking about how it's all going to happen, how it's going to end. And then I said, well, let me tell you something. There's no way that guy telling you that knows that. He might be reading the text, and that text, by the way, is a translation. It's an English translation of probably either Latin or Greek, which was originally ancient Hebrew. Like, a lot is lost in text, and a lot is lost also in the oral tradition. But it's like a long story. Like, do I want to sit down with her and talk about the Younger Dryas impact theory? And it's like, but I'm like, there's no way that guy knows.
Okay, so here we go. Like most Christians, I would say all Christians, 100% of them, 99.99%, he's cherry picking the Bible. If the book of Revelation has all of these problems that he laid out, which it does, why doesn't he think the Gospels have these problems? Because they do. And even worse, in some cases worse. At least the author of Revelation claims to be an eyewitness to this. The gospel writers, none of them were eyewitnesses to this. They were writing down hearsay. So I'd say the gospels are even in worse shape. So he's cherry picking. He is attending church now. He's attending church on a regular basis, and I don't know, I assume he's going to a fundamentalist church if they're preaching that the book of Revelation is prophecy, because non-fundamentalist churches don't teach that. My Methodist church taught that the book of Revelation was written by a first century Jew for first century Jews, and it was secret code to them, and that's all been fulfilled, and it doesn't really have much of effect for us today. So if he is attending a fundamentalist church and he's already telling his daughter not to listen to them because they don't know, I don't know how long he's going to last there. I would say not very long.
It might be true. It might be true, but there's no way he knows it's true because he's just a person.
Mm.
He's a person like you or me that is like deeply involved in the scripture.
Mm.
The scripture to me is what's interesting. It's fascinating. That is what, and also that Christianity, at least, is the only thing I have experience with. It works.
Mm.
Like the people that are Christians that go to this church that I go to, that I meet that are Christian, they are the nicest fucking people you will ever meet.
No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not. He is wrong about that. Christians are some of the most hateful people you will ever meet. And some of them are really, really nice. See, it just depends. It just depends on the person. That's the crux of it. He doesn't understand that they're being very nice to him. One, because he's new. They're desperate to get new people into church. You cannot believe how nice they are to you when you show up as a new person to church. They will bake you bread, they will visit you, they will act like they want you to be part of their family. And he's a celebrity. He doesn't understand how nice they're being to him because he's a celebrity. And no, it doesn't work. If it worked, we wouldn't be here anymore, because Jesus promised his disciples that he would come back before they even died, before some of them even died. It doesn't work. None of God's plans have ever worked. It only seems that way because he's feeling the nice, warm, fuzzy part of it. Maybe he's talking about it works psychologically as a placebo, and it does, but it doesn't work in the world. It doesn't, period.
They're really kind, and they are even more nice at a church. When you leave the church parking lot, everybody lets you go in front of them.
Aww.
There's no one honking in the church parking lot. It works. So regardless of whether or not it's based on an entirely true story, I think it is an ancient relaying of a real event and of the real history of human beings. You know, I don't know what the serpent in the garden and Adam and Eve and the apple, and I don't know what all that means. I assume that what that means, what I assume when they talk about the first human beings, I assume that is a recounting of a genetic manipulation.
So it doesn't matter whether the Bible is literally true or not. It just works. WTF? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. And his proof that it works is because people let each other out of the parking lot after church. Yeah, because they know each other. You don't want to be known as the asshole. Oh, there's asshole Laurentia who wouldn't let the associate pastor out of the parking lot. She cut him off and zoomed out of there, because they'll gossip about you. Yeah, they'll gossip and they'll tell. You know everybody. They're your family. So you want to let them out. They're not like you're at a football game with 60,000 other strangers that you just want to get home and you don't give a crap whether you cut them off. You just want out of the frickin' parking lot. It's like, come on, Joe, use your head. That's not how it works. And I can't wait to see what he says about this genetically mutated Adam and Eve.
That's what I think. I think the very first human beings, Adam and Eve, the idea that they just emerged, that is the very first ones, I think it's because they're created. And if you're saying they were created by God, that God created Adam and Eve, again, if you're telling a story for thousands of years where people don't even have books, they don't have paper, they don't have a written language, they're barbarians, they're savages, because they're just trying to remember what they knew from thousands and thousands of years before, when they had achieved a very high level of sophistication, which is what I think happened. This is the kind of story that you'd get. It's a kind of weird, foggy story, and there's a lot of moral scaffolding in there that if you subscribe to it, you could live a better life. And there's a lot of truth in there.
I can tell that, like most Christians, or ones that are dabbling in it, he's never read the Old Testament through and through. If he had, he would know that it's not a better life. Following God's laws is not a better life. Secular laws, where we outlaw slavery, is a much better existence in the world, where we make certain kinds of genocide illegal. See, the Bible doesn't do any of that. he's wrong. He doesn't understand it. He's cherry picking, and he clearly doesn't understand what he's saying. But I don't blame him. I don't blame him, because I was in the church for over 50 years and I didn't understand the atrocities that the God of the Bible condoned. I didn't know it because it's not preached on. He hasn't been told, and like most Christians, he isn't reading it for himself. And if he is reading the Bible, he probably doesn't understand what he's reading, because I didn't get it. I didn't understand. You gloss over it. It's like your mind doesn't work right when you're reading the Bible through the lens of Christianity or spirituality, because you just don't get it.
But I think the ultimate story is lost. It's the ultimate truth is like it's not. I don't think it's accurately documented anywhere.
Yeah. But it is wild. Like it's almost like we're walking hard drives of information.
Mm-hmm.
And you have binary code. Like if you look at DNA, it's AGCT. It's just like two different binary pairs, and it's like computer code. And so like maybe we are holding information from that time.
I think we are definitely holding some information, because one of the things you realize when you have children is there's stuff your kids are getting from you that you didn't even teach them. They just have like inclinations, or they have like a certain kind of drive that they have, like artistic ability, obsessions with things. Like I see it in my kids. Like I didn't even teach you that. Like you just got this from my genes. So I wonder what else you got from my genes. I wonder if you got any information from me. I wonder if you know things about stuff. Like my kids excelled in martial arts when I took them to martial arts class when they were little, like right away. I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like why are you better at this than other kids in your class?
Right.
Well, it's probably because that was my whole life, and it's like encoded in my genes. I think there's something to that. I think they had like a head start. You see that with like children of elite athletes too. Like why are they so good? Well, it could be just genes. Well, what is that genes? Like what kind of information is being passed on, and how much information is stored that we just don't have access to because we don't understand the language of the physics. We don't understand the technology that was available. We don't understand. But those thoughts are in our head, and that's why people are able to recreate them thousands of years later. It's like it's not reinventing. It's almost like rediscovering that we're capable of doing this because it's inside of us.
Joe, really? Have you not taken high school biology class where they talk about genetics? Your children don't have secret, some kind of secret ancient wisdom that they're pulling down, or that they got. It's genetics. You were good at certain things. That means they have a high propensity also to be good at certain things. They're not an identical copy of you, but this isn't surprising in any way. It's just shocking that he would go there, isn't it?
And you got me on to Rupert Sheldrake, who's amazing. These morphic fields, and this idea that maybe there's like a central repository, and when you do something new, you upload that information so that future people can download it more quickly.
And current people can access that information more quickly.
Yes.
That's the weird stuff that they proved it with rats, that if you teach a rat how to navigate a maze on the East Coast, on the West Coast, they now do it faster.
Total. And it explains the Bannister effect, things that like athletic accomplishments, where Roger Bannister breaks a 4-minute mile. 10 people do it after him in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You explains you with like podcast, like you have this huge explosion of podcasting after you, because it's almost like you're putting this information out that you can do a thing.
Yes.
Charles Lindbergh can fly across the Atlantic, and then like human, and we're sort of able to download that on a go forward basis or something.
Yeah. There's probably a lot more to consciousness and to memory and to genes than we're aware of. And we're learning. We're learning all the time. It's not like we have a completely accurate map of what it means to even be conscious. We barely know what that means. We barely know what that is. And there's, a lot of people think it's not even in your head, that your head is just an antenna.
Yeah.
It's tuning into consciousness, and it's just being filtered through your own biological entity and your own life experiences and your, whatever your circumstances are.
So are you saying that once somebody does something, like flies the first person to fly an airplane across the Atlantic, that's uploaded into the cloud, and now other humans are downloading that information, and now they have that information, and so now they can do it too? I mean, I think that's what he's saying. It couldn't be that some very intelligent or driven person decides they're going to cross the Atlantic. They do it successfully, and other people study that. They copy it and improve on it. Which one do you think it could be? I don't know. I'm just guessing here that it's the latter. That's what makes the most logical sense. Not that there's a computer cloud somewhere in the sky, invisible, that you and I are downloading stuff from. Wow. Weird and crazy. It's true. I don't think we barely know what consciousness is. That's true. I mean, neurologists grapple with that, psychologists grapple with it, average everyday people, we grapple with it. We don't even know what it means. Is an ant conscious? These things, and I don't know that we'll ever solve that. It is a mystery, but that doesn't mean that we're in an AI cloud somewhere, or that we're downloading stuff from the cloud. It's just weird, bordering on mental illness, I think, to think those kind of things. Very weird. So why is Joe Rogan dabbling in this? Why would he be doing this? I have two reasons. I think number one, he is really truly interested in this stuff. If you hear him talk about it, he does seem to actually study a lot of these things. So I'm not saying that he isn't genuinely interested in this. He seems to know a lot about it, even if he's wildly inaccurate and doesn't understand it all, or isn't using basic logic. He is interested in it. Number two, let's never forget that he's an entertainer. He loves to entertain. It's what he does for a living. That's what he's always done for a living. And what's more entertaining than will he or won't he? See, curiosity. Now he can get a brand new audience of Christians, just like Jordan Peterson. I think he's doing the Jordan Peterson thing. Will he or won't he become a real Christian? Christians, I've already seen them saying, oh, Jesus is tugging at his heart. He's going to come around. I'm praying for him to be saved. He's questioning. They love that. It's like catnip to Christians. And of course, for us atheists, it pisses us off a little bit, right? It does piss me off a little bit irrationally, because really, what do I care? Except for he has a huge audience, and he's a huge audience that believes every word that comes out of his mouth. And so that is disturbing, and I think he's doing it primarily for entertainment reasons. That's my opinion. That's all I have for today. Tell me what you think. You guys, give me a like and give me a subscribe, please. I'm begging you. And I'll see you next time.